Hello and welcome to Around the Ice on Fantasy in Frames. It's been a while since we saw everybody. The season's over. NHL Draft has happened. I don't know what you guys think. It's crazy how quickly the season ends and the NHL Draft starts. It's like it feels like it's right away almost. It's kind of crazy, but we're going to talk about tonight what we think about what happened in the draft, and then we're also going to talk about, hey, what are you doing in your home dynasty leagues? We've got it up here right now. This is our home draft, home league dynasty bangers league draft. We're going to talk about it. Me and Toast are also in a salary cap league. We're going to bring up our draft, which isn't quite finished yet, but we're just starting round 4 in that draft. We're going to go through all that. Before we get into that, let me welcome back my two co-hosts, Brian Toast Clark and Aaron Tomatich, the Titch. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Good to see you. It feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, it has actually been forever, JT. Yeah, I think the last podcast we actually did was at the end of the fantasy playoffs, which would have been late March, and here we are back. I would think we're probably going to do some shows here and there over the summer, leading up until the season where we actually get in full swing. We're kind of coming off what I would actually call another epic NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, right? I mean, what a playoffs it was. The Stanley Cup Finals was amazing. We're witnessing right now with Florida a dynasty, and what they've actually done in free agency to really bring their core and actually have such a large core tied up is nothing short of amazing. So I'm pretty jealous of them. But yeah, looking forward to this season and yeah, kicking off the NHL draft results, and it's gonna be fun.
Aaron, how you been?
Yeah, good to be back. I mean, it bit of heartbreak. The Oily boys, the Oilers, they didn't get it done. Started out, yeah, pretty even, but it seemed like after kind of that midpoint, of course, Oilers picked it off, kicked it off with a game 1 win in dramatic fashion, and but man, it just those last probably 3 games, just you saw the domination. Like to your point, Toast, it's just Florida, team first mentality. Lines 1 through 4, we don't care who's on the ice. I mean, I remember watching interviews throughout, and Paul Maurice, he's become kind of a legendary interview now where he's like, I'm not messing with lines. I'll just send who I send out there. There's probably some gamemanship there. He's not going to get into it, but it sure didn't look like he was really caring who was out there against McDavid. They were shutting him down. Oilers looked lost. Skinner sucks. What else can you say? It was just, yeah, Florida is legit. And then I love just a quick recap. I mean, I was losing money left and right, so I'm not even going to talk about betting, but the fact that these guys are in their celebration mode, and I didn't really look at Florida's salary cap until the finals kicked off, and I saw, hey, there's a path that they can get Marshy, Bennett, and Ekblad, and lo and behold, they did. So they got all these guys in pools and celebrating and probably drunk. Bill Zito, genius. He went out and he re-signed everybody so they could take another run at it again next year. These guys didn't ever have. They're still in celebration mode. It's like, yeah, let's bring it back again. What better time? It's like work on a Friday. It's like you just have that extra feeling of you're just happy, you're in a good mood, and the offers went out and they signed the sheets. So we'll probably be in Florida again next year out of the East. So. Yeah, great season,
and smart move, right? Right, guys? Like smart move. Like, hey, everybody's like in the euphoria of like winning. He's like, shouldn't you come back next year? Like,
yeah,
of course I'm coming back. Why wouldn't I? Like, that's the time to do it. Don't let guys think about it. Right. Don't let them like question it. Like, can I get more money? Like, dude, you just want a title, right? You just want a Stanley Cup, right? You're like, oh yeah, I want to back in on that. Like that's a smart ass GM move for sure. Don't you think, Toast?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I'm reading off a text message here that I actually sent to our home league. You guys were in on that as well. I sent it the June 17th at 9:56 p.m. I said, one of the biggest elimination game beatdowns I have ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah.
And you're right, Aaron. I think you said it right. Is Oilers ran into a buzzsaw. I mean, it was these guys. They play like the 2010, 2013, 2015 Hawks, man. But you know what? They're set up better because they got a better handle of the cap. They're actually taking advantage of that cap right now. Where salary cap was for real, back in the 2010s and early 2020s is leading up here. I mean, it was so strict. I think it was set around $75 million, and would be lucky to go up $1 million each year and stuff. And man, you just cannot keep your talent in the door. And now they're maximizing this, and they're really, it helps. I know we won't make this whole about a Florida podcast here tonight, but it helps actually getting like a Reinhardt, right, at a friendly deal. Yes. I mean, what was that? $8.5 million over 8 years and stuff. And I mean, when you could actually pull off deals like that and actually get your core lined up like that, I mean, and then maximize specifically when the cap's going to go up significantly, like it's actually done here. You struck gold. You just struck gold, and that their timing couldn't have been better. And they're so freaking good. I think there's get on your trading or your betting apps right now, and make sure to go ahead and put a futures bet in there if you can get them at like plus 400, plus 500. Go ahead and put it in.
Doesn't you guys remind you guys a little bit of the Blackhawks? How they ran this, like, they kind of crushed it early, put everything they had into it. Then the next year they're like, oh, that was a long season. They got off a slow start. Everybody's like, who are the Panthers? What's going on? And then like mid-year, they're like, oh, time to crank it up. They started turning it on, came through in the playoffs, played their best hockey of the season in the playoffs by far their best hockey in the playoffs. When these teams mature and they have these vets, I just feel like these guys know how to adjust. They know how to give just enough to win in the regular season, but to hold enough back that you got that little extra for the playoffs. What do you guys think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and again, I think it goes back to that depth. Just because I know the Hawks better than any other team in the league, going back to 2010, that's what I see in these Florida teams. I see that 2010 Blackhawks team where, again, it's line 1 through 4. That's what I see with Florida. I mean, the fourth line on the Hawks in that first cup was, I think a second line for Winnipeg the next year when Andrew Ladd went out and I forgot the kid's name, but he went down to Florida. It's like, they lost some guys, but the Blackhawks fourth line was everybody else's second scoring line. So that's what I see with Florida. Like these, it's depth everywhere. It's buy-in from the defensemen. It's Bobrovsky, staying locked in. I definitely do see the similarities there.
All right, guys, let's jump into the NHL draft. So Florida wins it. We think they're going to be one of the favorites going forward. But hey, hopium. You draft those rookies, those young guys. NHL is different than any other league, I think, other than maybe baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And that you just draft super young guys. You're like, thank you for signing. We'll see you in 4 years. Like it's like no other league is like it. You're drafting guys. You're hoping they're going to end up making it. It's not old school football, basketball like in the 80s. Like you draft a guy, he's going to come to your team. He's going to be your best player year one. That's not how it works. So let's break it down. Whether you're a newbie or someone who is like been in dynasty fantasy hockey for 25, 30 years. Let's go through the NHL draft. Let's talk about first who got drafted where we like the landing spots, and then we're going to get into our drafts. We have our Around the Ice Home League Dynasty, which we are one pick away. We have one guy just slow roll in the last pick, but it's fine. We're not going to talk shit. We're going to leave it alone. But we're like 3 rounds in, and then me and Toast, we're going to pull up our Black Aces salary cap league, which is a little bit different of a beast than our Bangers league, because you'll see. We'll talk about some of the differences. You'll see where some of these guys are going. It's quite a difference depending on what type of your league you're in, and that is what you need to know, people, for fantasy. What type of league are you in, and what guys do you go after? So, first, we're going to bring up the actual draft order. Let's talk about some of these guys. We'll bring it up here and show. So here we'll get in this. So starting at the top of the draft here, guys. Islanders, the luck of the draw. The luck of the draw. Get number 1. Super low percentage, but they still got it. They went defense, Matthew Schaefer. Titch, give me your thoughts on going Schaefer number 1. What do you think?
I think for the Islanders, grabbing that first overall pick changed the franchise. I think it speeds up their I'm not going to say a rebuild. They're kind of like the Blues. They've been doing this retool, I'll say, where they're on the cusp of a playoff spot, but their whole organization changed when they picked that 1-1 and they got that lottery pick. Because what they do, so the Schaefer, this absolute stud out there, everybody's saying the next Makar, whatever. Yeah, well, we'll see. Certainly, he's got a lot to live up to. That's a lot of pressure. I loved his reaction, by the way. He lost his mom. It's very emotional. In recent memory, I've never seen a 1-1 in any sport quite react like that. But speaks to his character. That was a big moment for him. And there was some question. He may not go 1-1, so it might have been a little bit of an outburst as well that, hey, I actually did it. I went 1. There's a lot of difference between the first pick and the second pick, at least in terms of all kinds of things that could open the door. But that said, I think the Islanders really wrote a masterclass on that. So not only did they pick that, but they went right into an action plan. So you're talking about Florida's action plan, or Bill Zito or whatever. Hey, these guys come in with a plan. I think the Islanders did that as well, because what they do, though, they moved Dobson to Montreal, picked up a couple more picks in the first round. And I like that with this draft specifically, because this draft, and we talked about a little bit in the regular season, this draft isn't as top heavy as what we've seen. There's no Bedard in this. There's no Macklin Celebrini. There's no McKenna, who's in the 2026, the upcoming draft. There's not a clear standout number 1. That's not to say the draft is weak. It's a very strong draft, I think. Every draft year, you always, this draft year isn't the one, it's the next year. You hear that over and over and over. It's pretty level. Like some of these guys, yeah, they'll sit in the minors. Some of them are, maybe ready day 1. But what the Islanders did, and they met, so they took defenseman, took and a forward, but the 1-1 pick. I mean, I can't say enough about how I usually avoid watching Islander games because they're so boring and there's nothing to see, and they don't have that super. I mean, you could say, Barzal, he's incredibly fast, but I don't know. There's just something about it, like is it the uniform? I don't know why, but I just find Islanders so incredibly boring. Not anymore. I'm looking forward to watching them. It's kind of like how the Ducks care less, boring team. I watched a lot of the Ducks last year because all those kids they had, Leo Carlson, Cutter Gauthier, Mason McTavish, list goes on, just to watch these kind of guys. That's what I'm looking at with the Islanders. I think they put on a master class, give them, and this is not a unique take. I think everybody's kind of give them an A plus in terms of what they did with the draft. But yeah, with what their needs did, and then what they did right after they got that pick, which is move Dobson, get away from him. He's going to be a great player. He'll have a great years in Montreal. Good fit for them, good for everybody. But the Islanders really pulled it off. So we'll see. And maybe they don't make it again next year. That's okay. But I would be surprised if they're not back to the playoffs a year after that.
Yeah, I like what the Islanders did. It felt like a team that was like, they've been on the verge, like just making the playoffs, super defensive heavy. They went into this draft. I feel like they went young and they're like, hey, we're there, but we're not going to win a series. So, we need to retool, get younger. I like where your head's at. Toast. the pick of the draft, people talking about Micah Misa from the Sharks. What do you think about Misa? We're going to talk about my crazy play in our home league here in a bit, but let's just talk about Misa first. What do you think about Misa the Sharks, a team that is loading up on young talent?
Yeah, it's going to be amazing to actually watch Misa and Celebrini actually team up at some point here. And so that's going to be dynamite. And I'm with you. I'm a little bit jealous of the way San Jose has actually put together their young core. You got to be proud of actually what the Hawks have actually done, as well as all this is actually Blackhawks fans. I mean, Aaron anyway. But it looks like the Sharks may have a leg up on them. I mean, they're that unbelievably good at throwing. Will Smith there as well, and William Eklund and his brother actually Victor actually went in his draft there as well. But Misa was some eye-popping numbers, man. I mean, I'm telling you what, at Saginaw last year, at 62 goals in 65 games, 134 points, over 2 points a game as well. He really at the Canada U18s at the Worlds, he 5 games, 8 points. But this, if you look up and down his card anyway, all he's actually done is scored every single level. I think that this was everybody's top forward on the board, and it wasn't really close, quite frankly. Schaefer and Misa were in tier 1 by themselves. And then there was a gap, and I don't really know how the gap was, but then you kind of had almost everybody else. And people actually look at this draft class and from a fantasy perspective, I didn't really mind trading off picks. And I know, Aaron, you traded off a lot of picks in our home league from this draft here because it wasn't top to bottom a strong draft. Next year, it looks really, really deep, real strong. You got Gavin McKenna, probably going to be the consensus number 1 easily. And whoever actually lands him is going to have something. But this draft here was less impressive. Let's just say that. But Misa, man, center, he's going to be an amazing player for them as well. And it was a no-brainer. I know there was actually some talks of the Sharks maybe actually having Frondell and really maybe drafting him at 3. I think honestly that was a smokescreen. That was just a GM for the Sharks, just basically putting that out there, kind of maybe just wanting to mess with everybody else. Who knows? Maybe even wanting to see what that number 2 pick it could actually bring before the draft. But they knew all along it was going to be Misa, and it really wasn't close. So man, great them. And the Sharks. I really don't know much about the rest of their draft, but it didn't make a difference at all. They won this, and Aaron. You were able to draft Misa. So JT, Aaron's actually in our in that cap league as well with it. He's Pretenders, they're on the Black Aces, and so you were able to actually draft him, and you felt, yeah, that was an amazing pick, man. Lucky for you.
Yeah, and I don't know if you knew. Well, again, I've been either dead last or second to last since I came in by design. I cleaned house. So I know we'll get into the leagues a little bit more. This isn't quite the deep dive, but just a strategy. So this is a salary-based league, hard salary cap. Our commissioner sets the cap every year. We follow the real cap, and then we add a multiplier to it. That's how you get to your cap. Then we use real-world contracts, and we don't have goalies. So we have a huge, massive 40-player minor league system, and it's so fun. It's so fun. I recommend it to everybody. If you're not in it, hit us up. Either hit us up on Twitter. Reach out now. We'll give you some tips, walk you through how to set up a league. It is so fun. But yeah, I got Misa. So I have the big 3 in San Jose. I've got Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, and now Michael Misa. So, again, you're talking about
a great stack.
It is. I got my Shark stuff on the way. Yeah,
I love it. He's like, I got
in.
the Shark Unis coming in. My roommate freshman year at San Diego State. Shout out to Larry, my freshman roommate at San Diego State. Huge San Jose Sharks fan from San Jose. He's got to be loving this. I'm big into unis. I love the black just shark fin uni last year. I thought it was awesome. They need to bring that back more. I know me and you watch a ton of late night West Coast hockey. Mm-hmm. We've been on Edmonton the last 3 years. I think we're going to watch a lot of Sharks games coming up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
really
and
do. I think we're going to be into a lot of late night Sharks hockey. We're going to be betting on Sharks. We're going to be betting player props. This team, I tell you what, they might not win a ton of games, but I think they're going to be exciting. I think they're going to be fun to watch.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and also throw in there, Toffoli. He's the elder statesman of the group there as well. He's really had his kind of a resurgence of his career there. He's really actually finding his footing, and I'm a big fan of William Eklund. And he basically, we'll talk about his brother here maybe briefly that actually got drafted. And they're a very, very similar player as far as talent goes. But Victor, the younger brother who got drafted, he just bangs. He bangs more, So basically, and I'm just kind of looking at here as well. And they're really, really top heavy with their first two lines. And you got to wonder, will Meese actually come in there right away? Quite frankly, there's not many players actually drafted here like previous years where they're actually just going to go straight to the NHL. In years past, we've actually had that be more common. When I say more common, 4, 5, 6 players actually just make that jump. You know what I mean? And we've had that happen in the last 3, 4 drafts now. You may not see that. You may just see, honestly, Misa. Schaefer's probably going to actually have one more year. He only played 17 games. He had an injury. He's super young. He's still 17 years old. Odds are, if he's good enough for the Islanders, they need him right away. Like I said, they made a trade for Dobson, and the Islanders killed this draft. They just did amazing with this draft. But and the only other guy I think is an Anton Frondell is he can play a two-way game. But do you really actually want to go ahead and get him one more year in the Swedish league? They're playing against the men, and he actually did really, really well doing that, instead of actually getting his ass kicked with the Blackhawks again this year, because they're going to have one more year of just bad hockey. And then after that, they're slated after that because this 2026 free agency class that's coming up, it's way better than this free agency class that was out there. I mean, you pretty much had Ehlers and you had Marner, right? And other than that, you didn't really have anybody. There just wasn't a whole lot there. I mean, we got some names, but no superstars. Next year, man, they actually have superstars left and right in this. I'm just going to read off a couple here real quick. And sorry, I don't want to get off track here because I know that, we want to talk about the draft, but I thought I actually took a screenshot of that. I guess not. Here it is. Yeah, McDavid, Eichel, Kaprizov, Kyle Connor, Panarin, Natchez, Robertson, Ovechkin, Kempe, Tuck. It's loaded next year.
That's a deep group, Toast. I didn't even notice that. I hadn't even looked that up yet. That's a deep group.
Yeah, and this year's class wasn't as deep, and a draft one is deep. So I know a lot of teams, including me, as a Blackhawk fan, my Hawks didn't do anything, didn't do nothing. We didn't think. Maybe that's by design. I don't know, but maybe it's by design. Let's hold on to our cap money. We led the free agency class next year. Let's go ahead and actually let these kids play one more season before we can actually get a lot of veteran help around them, and add one more superstar to actually go with Bedard. Rumor is Bedard is really, really working hard this offseason to become a perfect player, to actually take some of his deficiencies actually improved, and that's what the best players do. And so Frank Saravalli actually came out last week and said, wait till you see this guy next year. You're going to see even a different player, a better player. So I'm like, hey, that sounds great to me. So we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight, but we're going to have an even more exciting time next year when we talk about that free agency class and that NHL draft class. It's going to be so much better than this year.
Yeah, and it's funny, as we're sitting here talking about this, something I think I'll put to this, obviously the three of us, anybody listening, anybody that's interested in this, but if you look at the way, especially after this draft, another forward, like you said, Toast, a high-end forward, Michael Misa goes to San Jose with these picks. I mean, they're picking the best player, so I get it. So this might not be by design, but if you look, let's just say the Hawks and the Sharks. Okay, so 2 complete rebuilds, take it down to the studs, rebuild it. They're not doing the retool like some other teams. They did that. Hawks went net out. Now they have Spencer Knight back there, but they are really good defensively. They have no forwards other than Bedard.
Yep.
The Sharks have jack shit defense. They got Askarov, but I don't know what he's doing. They drafted a goalie. So is Askarov, is he a shit or not? I don't know.
That was a crazy trade. Yeah.
They went forward back. Who's going to come out on top? Who's going to make the playoffs first? I wish there was a way we could get odds on this and just see, what happens. I mean, I obviously I'm going to put my money on the Hawks. I'm going to say defense wins games, doesn't win fantasy necessarily, but wins real games. But it's funny how that worked out. Like we're going to see Mike Greer versus Davidson to see who's really the mastermind. And maybe they both suck, and we're back having the same conversation 5 years from now as Detroit,
and
or
neither one of them made a playoffs.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Never mind.
Well, it's funny that our
thing.
favorite teams are like, you got Chicago, and you actually have San Jose, and I know we all actually love Ottawa, and we actually love Columbus as well. And it's just all the teams that have been drafting up top because they're so much fun to watch, especially Columbus. Watch out for Columbus, man. They are really going in the right direction.
I feel like the Sharks, as Aaron just brought that up, I feel like the Sharks are an NFL team with no defense, all offense.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be the team that's going to crush for fantasy because they're going to put up they're going to lose a bunch of 6-4 games, but they're going to put up points. They're going to put up points. Like I feel like that's what the Sharks are going to do, and we saw a little bit of it this last season. Like they were in a lot of games. I mean, they lost a ton of games, but they scored a lot. They weren't getting shut out like 1-0. They were scoring. They just couldn't stop anybody. So that's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. We're going to hold off on my Frondell talk because I got a whole segment we're going to talk about Anton Frondell. But
good. I got to know what you were thinking when
we're going to jump in this. We're going to jump in this once we get to our actual around the ice fantasy league draft. But what I want to talk to you, I'm going to throw out my first guy that I like in this top 10 outside of my guy that I took. And then you guys tell me your favorite picks. I thought the most perfect hit ever was James Hagan going to the Bruins at 7. I mean, on Twitter, you would have thought Jesus came back. Like Bruins fans were like, we got I mean, Bruins fans were losing their mind. They're like, we got Hagans. They were like losing their shit. And I was like, God, it made me want to take Hagans really bad. To be honest with you, I'm like, God, I kind of wish I would have taken him somewhere. I thought that was a great hit for them. The Bruins, and me and Toast talked about it off the air. The Penguins. Those are two teams that have been just nothing but successful for the last 15 to 20 years. And they're both like on the verge of like, we got to break it down. And can they fully break it down? Do they have the guts to fully break it down? Because that's hard. It's hard. We're a fan base when they expect a lot to fully break it down and rebuild. I love the Hagans pick for the Bruins. Outside of some of my other guys I liked, he was my top 10 favorite pick and favorite match. I thought he went perfectly with the Bruins. I'll start with you, Toast. Out of the top 10 here, what was your favorite matchup as far as you felt like the player with the team was the greatest? Like it hit right.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you there. That was the guy I'd actually circled as well because, like you said, the Bruins have finally actually got to that point where there's acceptance. There's acceptance of the fact that hey, they have one superstar, but they are truly they're trying to maybe rebuild on the fly, right? But they are going through even like a mini rebuild. And Marchand actually stays. There was some rumors of him maybe just doing a quick thing in Florida and then coming back, but he gets a 6-year deal, and everybody's like 6-year deal. Can't believe actually Marchand got a 6-year deal with Florida. With the cap, man, this is what you can actually do. And then basically they're paying him $6 million a year. They can afford that. They're in their window now as well. So it's basically go ahead and give that money away. But Hagans was your consensus number one overall pick for the longest time in this entire draft class. I know back when we're looking in 2024 and early 2025 was Hagans all the way down. But you got to love actually what they did. This is probably the, I would say the biggest high end and most reward pick of the top 10. It could end up being the absolute best and not even close because he's that good. But I actually also like what they did with pick number 51 and come back with a guy, William Moore. It's interesting, a guy like this actually slides down there, 6'2", 188 pounds. And he was really a mainstay for the United States national development team there. And really, if you look at his U18, I mean, he's a point per game player. And he was one of the their big guys, one of the big
Yeah.
guns there. So
Toast, I want to talk about how me and
Yep.
you were all over getting more in our Black Aces League, and he got sniped like 3
Yes.
picks before us, and we were pretty upset about it because you're like, oh, we got to get more here. If he gets to us in the next round, he did not. And I have to be honest, pretty upset about it. I was hoping he was going to get to us.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was interesting that a guy like that actually fell at 51. But nevertheless, the Bruins did really good. I'm actually just going to go ahead and read a little bit of a thing on Moore here. So Moore does a bit of everything from high-end plays right down to the finest details. In his best games, he manipulates defenders with driving crossover rushes, lands look-off passes, crashes the net, puts down a low clinic with possession. He drives wide, gets the defender to follow, then instantly cuts in from a better look. That's for elite prospects there. But again, a guy that's 6'3", 190 pounds. So he actually, 18 years old, he has the frame that he can go ahead and just play. And that's what we actually talked about. A lot of these guys in this draft class, they can't just come in and play right away. And mainly, too, because they just don't have the stature. They don't have the frame. They're not strong enough. But he's a guy who actually could come in and actually play right away. You get a steal in the later of the second round there. Aaron, I'll let you maybe talk about one of the guys you like. There's a couple more guys I just want to briefly mention, but I'll give you a chance here.
Yeah, well, I'm going to complete the hat trick here and say Hagens at 7 was my favorite pick as well. I mean, I again, I know, admittedly, don't know a whole lot, at least as deep as I would have gotten on Frondell. So again, why I'm kind of really anticipating JT's whole reasoning why he took him 1-1. I can't wait to get into that. But I kind of wanted the Hawks to take Hagens there at the 3 pick. Being a Hawks fan, that's how big of an impact player I think Hagens can be. Boston needed it. Of course, leave it to Don Sweeney, the GM of the Bruins, to then the first day of free agency completely fuck it up by getting Tanner Jeannot, who I'm not a fan of, and then he signed him long term. So it's like, hey, we have this, we hit the shooting star with Hagens, and now let me bring the Boston fans back against me again and sign this turd for, I think it was like 5-6 years. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, definitely. So right there, same page with you guys. But the one shout out I'll do that outside of Hagens is Porter Martone from on the Flyers, the 6th pick. So the pick that went right before Hagens. He is Rick Tocchet. Rick Tocchet, power forward. He fought, he scored, he passed, he played the power play. All those things I just said, that's what Martone does. He is a perfect Philadelphia Flyer. He's going to kill you. He's going to run you into the boards. He's going to run defensemen into the wall if the Flyers, at some point when the Flyers make the playoffs. But you got Toc coaching him. It's like he's reliving his hockey playing through this kid. So I'm looking forward to that because that'll make the Flyers mean and nasty again. And right now they're kind of limp dick and they're not a whole lot of fun to watch. But you got a guy like Michkov. Now you got Zegras over there. You're going to have a little flash, but you're going to have a little bit of old school with that guy. So I love that pick for the Flyers. It'll make the Flyers mean again.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing as well, and well said, Aaron. One thing about Hagens as well, and here's the deal. Would you say, Aaron, he probably would actually have won at 3 if the Hawks had already drafted Bedard, Nazar,
True,
Oliver Moore, all of these undersized guys, right? I mean, because he's another undersized guy at 5'10", 180 pounds. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for that, he probably actually would have went 3. But if you look at the rest of these forwards here, these are all big players. A lot of them actually in the top 10 are big players. They all big body. Some of them actually had a chance to actually play right away. I still think not many actually will. They'll probably end up taking another year in juniors and stuff, or the AHL. But nevertheless, he was a great pick there at 7.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we actually maybe lost JT just for a second. He's off camera. But Aaron, one other guy here we can actually talk about here, Roger McQueen. McQueen, another guy where it just injuries, right? Injuries have actually kept him back there. But as far as his upside there, there's talk that he's got the best, one of the 2 or 3 best players for upside in the entire draft. Just a guy actually, I believe it was I'm trying to remember exactly what the injury was, but it was concerning enough.
Back.
that's what it
injury.
was. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Big guy with a back injury. I mean,
that's a recipe.
Yep.
I don't care what sport you're playing. You had a big frame like that. You got a bad back. Ooh. And I could tell you what made me gun shy with Roger McQueen. So I feel personally impacted by this. Again, in our salary cap, I drafted Caden Lidstrom, another really big guy, Columbus Blue Jackets. My God, they could have used him last year. Could have been a difference maker. I mean, he wasn't ready for pros. I should say that's a bad comparison, but big guy, back problem, sidelined the whole year, not playing. Now that he's questionable to start the next year. So these back injuries with these kids that have these big frames. I mean, this McQueen, he's as big as Tage Thompson. He's got that big 110 flex stick. He shoots the puck about 1,000,000 miles an hour, but now what? Like the back's the one thing that really sports science doesn't have a good grasp on. I mean, you could probably say that about concussions too, but back injuries are scary things. They're permanent things. They're, look at Eichel. It was obviously it was his neck, but still part of the spine, part of the back, and that chased him out of Buffalo. Well, probably for the best for him, but I'm maybe I'm a little too gun shy just because of my experience with Lindstrom on that, but I agree. If not hurt, might have been a 1-1 or the 1-2. Yeah, that's how good he is. That's his upside. So anybody that took him or that took you've got a very high ceiling, got a lot of risk, but the ceiling could be higher than maybe higher than anybody in the draft. He may be the best.
Yeah, he was a nice take if you were like waiting around, like late first, early second round, and he dropped to you. He's like worth the risk. He might bomb out, but it's not like you took him 1-1 or 1-2. So I like that idea on him. I looked at him in a couple days. I was like, "Ooh, should I jump on him?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, it was a little questionable, but let's jump in right now into our home league. Let's pull up our home league draft. This is a bangers league. We talk about it all the time. This is around the ice league. Let's take a look at kind of what we've done. Like I said, we have one pick left, but let's get into what we've done and who we like, and let's discuss some of our own picks and what other picks we like from other people here. So pulling this up, I had the 1-1. I shocked the world. Anton Frondel.
Here we go.
I took him instead of Misa. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this. My buddy, Austin Power Play, John McGlynn, right behind us. He was like, "Oh my God, thank you." He was like, "Thank you for giving me Misa." Here's my thought process. It's a little deep here and why I didn't take Misa. I like Misa a lot. I think that's a very strong offensive group in San Jose. They've been loading up offense. Where does he fit in that? Where does he fit in power plays? We're a bangers league. Remember, people, we're a bangers league. Frondel, fantastic size, aggressive player. Just turned 18, I think. 17, just turned 18. Swedish team, Toast knows how I have.
That's why I knew.
An affinity for the Swedish team. I love the Swedish hockey team. I don't know why. I love the Swedish hockey team. They're my favorite team out of Team USA. If I ever root for anyone, I always root for Team Sweden. I love Team Sweden. I think it's because Nicholas Lindstrom and Zetterberg and all the Swedish guys that played for the Red Wings got me into the Swedish team. Matt Sundin was a guy I was a big fan of. I liked him a ton. I just like the way they play. So Frondel for me, I know it's not classic because we'll talk about it. Toast, he went, Black Aces, he went 1-7, right? Which I'm like, holy shit. I was like, he went 1-7 or other league. I took him 1-1. Here's why I took him 1-1. He's a big kid. He's already, 6'1", 6'2", about 200 pounds, from Sweden. Had knee surgery last year and still was very, very, very strong. I think he's a two-way player for the Blackhawks. And here's what I'm projecting and hoping for. I want him on Connor Bedard's line. If he gets on a line with Connor Bedard and he could be a two-way banger, which everything is showing that he's a guy that wants to fight in the corners, he wants to hustle, he wants to hit. I want that in a bangers league. He's going to get me good scoring. He's not going to score as much as Misa. I already know this. Misa's going to outscore him. I know this in just straight points. But in a bangers league with it, you get hits, blocks, penalty minutes. I think Frondell is going to end up being better than him long term. And the combination of the Swede on the Blackhawks was just too much for me to over. Just I couldn't do it. I was like, I got to take him because you know what was going to happen. I was going to take Misa, and then I was going to regret it the whole time. I was going to be so mad at myself that I didn't take Frondell. Everyone told me like trade down, and take him. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take him. I want my guy. I'm going to get my guy, and that's why I went Frondell. I think he's going to be. I think he's a Jonathan Toews. I think he's a two-way player. He's going to hit. He's going to get assists. He's going to score. He's going to be strong. And if you can get him either playing center or wing, I think he maybe ends up playing center with Bedard playing the wing where he can actually feed Bedard because he's a better scorer. I like that a ton. I think that could be a killer Draisaitl McDavid line in a couple years. That's in my mind. That's what I'm picturing. Could this be a Draisaitl McDavid line, like where these guys are like, hey, shot? So in this league, if it wasn't a bangers league, I don't think I make this pick. But I already like the Blackhawks with Frondell being from Sweden, as young as he is, as big as he is. I looked at a ton of data from a ton of people online. Thank you for all the guys on X who post stuff all the time. A ton of Barkov comparisons. Of people like, dude, nobody's met the metrics that has been in his range since Barkov. So that I already love that. And Barkov's on my team. So I love that already. And then when they start coming out and he's like, ooh, he's like a more physical Nylander, and he's kind of like Henrik Zetterberg. And I was like, I think you might have stole me. So I was like, I'm in now. I'm in on this guy. So Frondell, I know, and you guys can roast me in the comments on this about taking him number one. But I am on Frondell number one. I love the upside. I love where the Blackhawks are going. And I think in a bangers league, I think he's a legit score two-way guy who's going to get you hits and blocks. And he's going to end up scoring a ton of points because of that. I think he's, man, like I said, I think he could be a Barkov type of player. So I think he's that two-way guy, and that's why I jumped on him. He's listed as a forward, but I think he can play center. But I think he can play either. So I think I really like him. So I want to see what you guys think. Was this the craziest pick you've ever seen in your freaking life? Or you can tell me you hate it, and I don't care because I love him. But tell me what you guys think. I know you guys are Blackhawks fans, so I know you want him to do well. But tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, so JT, I think this is an example of why every league is a little bit different, right? And every league is a little bit unique, and it's hard to actually to slam a pick at 1-1 when the league dynamics are just different from league to league. So, for example, in our home league is a Dynasty Bangers League. We actually only have 10 minor leaguers. Okay, so you don't have a whole lot of minor league spots you can actually store guys on. You need them if you're wanting to draft right, in my opinion, in our league. And this is a great example of you need to look at your league settings and actually make decisions like that. You need to try to draft guys who are going to play sooner than later. That's my opinion, because you want to keep those guys actually flowing up into your major league roster. And you actually just don't want it. You can't wait the 4 years because you don't only have 10 spots, right? You don't have that many spots. Frondell actually being that two-way, that 200-foot player, he's going to find himself in the NHL sooner than later. And when he actually makes it in the NHL, they're going to trust him in all situations because he's that type of player, whether it be face-offs, actually, whether it be penalty kill, the power play, even strength. That's going to be a young player who's going to get plenty of minutes because they trust him, because he actually does all the little things as well. Just a complete player. Plus, he's actually playing in the Swedish league right now. He's playing with men, and he's actually doing really well doing that. So odds are he'll probably go back to the Swedish league. That's my guess is what he's going to do this next year. He could end up making the Hawks team, but the Hawks are going to be dog crap again this year. What's the point of actually having he might as well go back to Sweden and play one more year and then come to the Hawks. But when he gets there, you're not going to see a guy that's real young playing 12, 13 minutes a night, 14 minutes a night. He's going to come in because he's going to be ready because he can play in all situations. He's going to be playing 19, 20 minutes a night from the get-go. So I like the pick for that because he's safe. He's safe at that point. And other guys on this board may have the higher upside and more flash, but they're not as safe, right? And they don't have that path. But I think Frondel's path is going to be much more cleaner than NHL.
Yeah, Aaron, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm glad you went first because I'm swayed from my position from calling you completely crazy after your explanation. The Swedish development of a hockey player. There's again, I've referenced the podcast a million times, but obviously Spit and Chicklets, the number one hockey podcast. They got Merle's Matt Murley on there, lives there. His wife's from there, so he's been big on the Swedish development system for years. I mean, I've been listening to that podcast for as long as it's been around. So I've been hearing him talk it up. So much like you did and your experience with that and the Detroit, I like that because again, you're facing off against the higher competition. And for any of the beer league listeners that are out there, anybody that's played, I don't care, what level, if you played Pee Wee, you played high school. One thing you'll notice is, you're even, skill is what it is, but when you skate with a higher skill set, so again, you're playing at 17, 18, and you're playing 21, 22-year-olds, even professionals, you find another gear pretty quickly, or you get put on a first line or a scoring line with you're going to keep up. You're going to find a gear you didn't know you had. I think I can only speak to hockey with that. I assume other sports are probably like that too, but especially hockey is just, you're maybe shortening the shift time a little bit, but all those little nuances, you learn that when you play at the higher skill level. So I like what you say there. And then the hardest thing in what rookie development, I don't care what organization you're in, Toast, you mentioned it. What is Bedard working on this year? He's working on his two-way game. What is Barkov, naturally gifted at his two-way game? That's what brought him into the league. He's developed his scoring. He's developed these other things. But the hardest thing for a young forward to learn is the defensive game, the back check. Patrick Kane, another perfect example. That dude didn't know what a back check was. Gets on the Joel Quenneville system, has a player like Johnny Taves that won a Selke that was always nominated for the Selke. Oh, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. He's a tremendous back checker. He'll pull that puck off somebody's stick, and he won't get a block shot because he doesn't have to, because he's already got the puck and he's going the other way. Mm-hmm. So that's the hardest thing to teach. It's what the American players, somewhat Canadian players, but when I compare North America with Europeans always seem to pick that up a little bit quicker. They get to the NHL a little bit quicker. And if you're looking at it at an impact player, much to your point, I don't want to sit 5 years on a guy when I got 10 roster spots. I want a guy that's going to play this year, next year, at maximum 2027. Beyond that, I think it's a dead spot, and I might as well use a spot on somebody else that may be up and coming. Makes sense in the Bangers League. So you've convinced me. Is he 1-1? Well, I'll have to say that Misa, I think Misa will be, but then what if Misa ends up being a Pettersson, like Elias Pettersson? If he doesn't get a goal or an assist, his ass is getting 0.0 points for that game. If Frondell doesn't get a point, he might get 3.5 points from hits, from blocks. So it's about that consistency.
You just completely said what I was thinking. So I'm like, I like Misa. I think he's a better scorer.
Yeah.
I will 100% relent that Misa's gonna probably be a higher point scorer than Frondell in a regular scoring league. And in the NHL, he'll end up with more points per season usually. But in a bangers league, I think Frondell's gonna be better. Because Misa gonna get power play one? He's got some studs in front of him. He's really good. I'm not saying he's not really good, but man, like you said, San Jose has drafted nothing but offensive studs the last couple years. So where does he fit in that mix? Chicago is dying for offensive guys to play with Bedard.
It's true.
If Frondell this is me taking a long shot. If Frondell can get on a line with Bedard and hit, I love it. Chances for a ton of assists with Bedard, and Bedard setting him up. He's got a great one-timer. He's got a great slap shot. If you go back and look at his highlight film, like, dude, Bedard could set him up for some great one-timers, and he can add hits to it. I love it. So that's what I'm in. I'm going to read you guys real quick. This is what sold me. This is what sold me when I was doing research on who I was taking 1-1. This is from Brian Bader. You guys, I want you to follow him online on Twitter, on X, at Brian M. Bader. Anton Frondell, my guy, goes to the Blackhawks at 3 overall. Frondell, the highest DY star probability of any player in the 2025 draft, and was my top-ranked player in the HP 32. Why? His equivalent in the 20s in his pre-draft year and in the 40s is DY mixed, his young age deadly, Byfield, Kucherov, Savard, Marner all looked like him. You get a star out of this guy 4 out of 5 times. Add to it, he put up massive numbers in the DY in the Pro Euro League, the most underrated left skin Swedish league, and it puts him over the top. The only other player in the 35 plus year history to share a similar production track record in this league, doing so in the Pro Euro League in his draft at a younger age, Alexander Barkov. That's what sold me.
It's pretty good company.
The upside is ginormous for this guy. That's why I was in on him. Is it a risk? Absolutely. It's an absolute risk. But I read that and I was like, in a bangers league, especially with a guy with good size, I'm like, I love it. I love it. We probably talked about Frondell more than we should have, but he was my guy at number 1. Let's quickly move through the rest of our draft and talk about some of these guys. Quick hitters, both you guys. So we already talked about Misa, stud. What's our guy, John McGlynn, at number 2? Hall Notes, Freddie at number 3. Toast, what do you think?
Yeah, Deone is a good because honestly, look at what Utah's actually doing. And they killed free agency, and they end up doing the trade as well for JJ Peterka, and then actually to come and get this guy here as well. Utah is, they're really set up nicely. Keller as well on that team, and then who's the young stud, the sniper they actually have?
Gunther.
Yeah. Think about it, man. Dylan Gunther as well. I'm at a hockey practice here. I've actually just I usually just ready to kind of nail these guys off the top of my head here, but it's been a minute anyway. But Utah is, man, they're churning heads. Great spot. They're actually in here as well. I'd be lying if I said I actually knew a ton about the player. I don't. On this draft board, what I really liked, my brother with the Adam College Adams, which is a great name there, by the way. It's an absolute great name. Getting Schaefer to fall at 4, and in the Bangers League actually falling to 4. I understand why. Defenseman, it's they're especially defenseman's actually projected to be like Schaefer, where it's going to be a score first, maybe actually defend type of second, and he's not really going to want to get the hits and the blocks and all that stuff, which he probably would actually get more blocks than actually hits. But have the number one pick of the entire draft and actually have the consensus number one fall to 4 on a team for his team that actually really is rebuilding at the time, that couldn't have actually fell better to him with Schaefer at 4. It was a great deal. And then one other one as well, Brady Martin. We talked to actually Brady Martin. I think right now Sam Bennett's best friend, or Brady Martin's best friend is Sam Bennett, because what Sam Bennett actually did in the playoffs and stuff, that's why Brady Martin actually went as high as he did and projected not nearly as high and ended up going 5th to Nashville overall and actually went 7th in our draft actually here. Brady Martin is a banger. Brady Martin's a guy that actually just knock you out. And also actually, which really fits perfect with the Nashville type of mentality, even though they've been wanting to get faster and they have actually got faster over the last few years as well, but he'll fit in perfectly. You do wonder if Martin can actually come in and make the team right away, because they could actually use a guy like that. So, but in a bangers league, I really, really like what McGlynn actually did, getting Misa. And then actually then with the trade with me, getting my number one pick, coming back with Martin, and actually then coming back with Carter Bear as well. And I mean, wow.
And I was pissed.
I tell you what, McGlynn had a great draft.
Pissed when he took Carter Bear and trade up to 1-9, because I thought for sure I was getting Carter Bear at 2-1. I thought for sure I was getting Carter Bear. Then McGlynn probably knows me too well, that jerk off. And he trades up to 1-9 and steals Carter Bear from me. Then he turns around and is like, "You want to trade me your pick?" I'm like, "Not unless you're going to trade me Carter Bear." I'm like, "What the heck, dude?" I thought it was a great move. I thought the Martin move for him was good. Bear was a great trade for him. He was active in this draft. He came back and got Hensler at the 2-9 as well. He was trying to move all over this draft, which I love. He was trying to make trades left and right. Toast, real quick. Talk about Kendall. He went 110 to the Meat Sweats. Me and you got him in Black Aces salary cap league at what, 111? I think it was. Was it 111 or 112?
Yeah, it was actually. I'm looking at that right now. We got him at 112.
112. So talk about Kendall, because I liked Kendall a ton. I was going to take Kendall because we took him in Black Aces. I was going to double up and take him again in this league at 2-1. And then Meat Sweat stole him, and then I went Eklund. And I'll tell you why I like Eklund, but tell me why you like Kendall, because we took him in another league. Neither one of us got him in this league, but tell people why they should be out there thinking about, if you're late first, early second, why you should think about taking Kendall.
Yeah, he's a playmaker. It's as simple as that. And two, let's be honest, when you're actually in these type of drafts here, especially with these deeper leagues that actually were carrying like 40 guys on a roster for minor leagues specifically, you're throwing darts. I don't even care where you're actually drafting. When you actually get to pick 11, 12, you're throwing darts. So he's a playmaker. But what actually kind of led me to actually liking this guy here, he led all draft eligible players in the WHL and scoring this last season, 99 points, 35 goals as well. So, and then the write-ups on the guy and what he could actually do and what he's projected to actually do, that it made it kind of, again, it's easy. At that point, you should be looking at, what's this guy do from year in, year out, all the way through his junior career. And if you look at Kendall's scoring card, that's all he does is score. He scores a ton. Plus, I actually like the fact that he's a right winger, and right wingers tend to actually be a little bit thin in these leagues here as well, where we actually go positional. So another guy that actually can fill in that right wing, but high risk, high reward with a guy like this, pick 11, 12. He's only 5'10", 176 pounds, so he's undersized a little bit. He's going to need some time to actually develop physically, but when he actually does, if you look up and down the years of him actually playing in his junior card, he just scores a ton. So why not actually take a stab at him?
Yeah, I love it. I took Eklund after that at 2-1. He was a guy that I know, Toast, me and you were looking at Black Aces League, taking Eklund, Bear, or Kendall. They ended up getting Bear and Eklund went right before us, so we ended up going Kendall. Eklund's a guy I really like. Another Swede, shocker for me. Going to the Islanders, I thought it was a great pick by the Islanders.
Yes.
The issue with him is, if you're drafting him, and I'm just going to warn people right now, you're waiting a while. He's young. And he's probably going to take at least 3 to 4 years before you see him in the NHL. But in a bangers league, this guy as a forward, I think is going to be a bruiser who can score. I really like him. I know. And usually, if you're picking 1-1, let's just be honest, you had a terrible team. I didn't actually have a terrible team. I barely missed the playoffs, but in our league, we play through the playoffs for the anyone who misses, and if you win the 1-1. So I luckily won the 1-1. So I feel like I'm right there in our league. I mean, I barely missed out. Eklund's a guy I'm going to hold and wait on. I was between him, Merca, and McQueen at the 2-1. But because it's a bangers league, I like where the Islanders are going. I think he could be really solid in like 2 years to 3 years. So that's where I jumped on him there, even though he's a really young guy. What do you guys think about? First off, if you have any thoughts on Eklund, throw it in there. But what do you think? I thought the two of the most interesting players in this second round were Merca for the Buffalo at 2.5 and McQueen. We talked a little bit about the injuries earlier. The fact that McQueen dropped to 2.6 in a bangers league, I'm not quite as surprised as I am in another league with him dropping to 2.6.
Yeah, we'll start it off with Eklund again. Now that we know your whole you're tapped into the farm system there in Sweden, so now we know that none of this comes as a surprise. But you know what does well, or who does well? What group of players do well in the NHL? It seems to be brothers. Whether it's the Chucky brothers, Hughes brothers, what's another one I'm missing? Oh well, I know there's a completely obvious one, but
Yeah,
the
Kachuk.
Eklunds. Yeah,
all
yeah,
those guys.
yeah.
I mean,
All these.
Eklund, his brother
Yeah.
plays for San Jose, and I was like, I saw that. I'm like, how many times have we learned that the younger brother is usually the better player?
Well, and then
Because
you've
he got
got
beat up his whole life.
yeah,
He had to play harder than anything to play with his brother and his brother's friends. He got the absolute shit kicked out of him his
yeah.
entire life. Those kids are tough because you either fall apart and just go away and stop playing sports, or you get tougher because those kids beat you up. That's why I like Eklund. I'm like, man, I was like, I feel like, and like I said, me and Toast were talking about taking a Black Aces in the first round. He got snaked right in front of our pick. And then when he got me at 2-1, I was going to take, I have to be honest, I was going to take Kendall because me and Toast took Kendall and Black Aces. I like his scoring ability. But when he got, him and Bear both got sniped. That was my cue was Bear, Kendall, Eklund. So when they got, both those guys were in front of me, that's why I went Eklund.
Yeah, and I like him. Again, going back to the whole brothers comparison, that if you watched the first cup with the Panthers, Brady Kachuk was partying, getting drunk, and just celebrating. This year, the camera panned to him. He looked pissed. He looked jealous. So you've got that built-in rivalry when you got brothers that play in the NHL, and you've got that built-in camaraderie. Who better to trust than your blood relative, your blood brother? Like, hey, what did you do in this situation? I don't care what team you are. You both cashed in your ticket. You're going to get honest feedback, like, oh, don't do this, do that, do. So I'm totally buying into that whole bloodline thing, whether it's brothers, it's there's, and how many, again, just because I'm so close to the NHL, a lot of these guys are second generation. There's again, going back to the Kachuk family. I remember Walt Kachuk, well, Keith Kachuk's his real name, but he goes by, everybody calls him Big Walt now. But I remember that son of a gun, just sticking people in the face and being a pest, and fighting in the at the time the World Cup. It used to be the Canadian Cup, then it was World Cup, then it went away, and now we got Four Nations. But so a lot of this, there is something to be said to that. That hey, here's the path, here's what I did. You got the skills, now go do it. So I like that. But overall, now if you're looking at our board, my team is Slewfoot. I had 0 picks, so I can sit on my high horse and judge the rest of you
stop
idiots
being awesome.
for how
Stop being so awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I traded them all away. I did a complete reverse, complete 180 from our last year's season, where I traded all of my players for picks. We ended up disbanded, went with a different format. Thank God we did, because I love this new format. The Bangers League is where it's at. But this year went the opposite. I'm like, nope, I'm going to load up on players. I'm going to get rid of these picks. And that's what I did. So it gives me a unique perspective. I was sitting here watching you idiots take these players and thinking, God, what a dumbass. That said, and I thought that about each and every one of you. I just want you to know.
Yeah.
That said, I'm going to hand out an MVP award. And you already talked about it, Toast, to McGlenn. I think McGlenn had the best overall draft. Martin, he had a lot of picks too, but I love the Carter Bear. Just the name. Just take the name. Love
Dude,
the
it's
name.
an awesome name. I love that he's on the Red Wings. I wanted him so bad. I was like, I wanted him so bad. I was like, I'm so mad I didn't get him in either of those dynasty leagues.
He comes back. Then he goes in. He's got Carbonos. He's got that bloodline back in that I just talked about. So, and Hensler, he took Hensler in late in the second. Hensler, I had him as the second D man behind Schaefer. Pretty big gap between the two players, but still, when you're talking about playing in the NHL, Ottawa's going to have some vacancies in that defense. They don't quite have a 1 through 6 defense core that I think that there's room for him to won't be next year, but the following year, probably 27, break that, hit that last pairing and see what the kid can do. So I like all that pick. Steal of the draft for me was the McQueen. You guys, again, we talked about it before. McQueen, I think, dropped far too many spaces. And it was Jensen that took him. I loved his Hagen's pick, and he gets McQueen. Then I don't think he had much of a choice. Like at that point, you have to take him. Like, he cannot go another spot. He's already slid probably 5 spots more than he should have. So it was a no-brainer. So I give him no credit if McQueen takes off. You lucked into it. So, no, zero credit to Jensen. He's a dope, and whatever. But the rest of you all, everybody else I didn't mention, you all stink, and I'm just gonna dummy you again.
I love Aaron's like, it was awesome. I just sat out this draft because I'm so.
I did.
Awesome. So
no, great. I did. I
know.
Yeah.
McGlynn was trying to trade up in a bunch of rounds. He tried to trade me at 3-1. I took Aitchison, and he was pissed because he was like, "That's who I was taking."
Banger.
Here's what I'm telling you on Aitchison, and I'm just throwing this out to anyone in a Bangers league. If you look at his makeup, he should be a prime Bangers league guy. Like, is he going to score you a ton of goals and assists? Probably not. Will he get you a decent amount? Yes. Is he going to hit? He's going to hit. This guy's going to bang. So I, like, when Aitchison got to me, I was like, ooh. There was a couple guys I liked out there still, like offensive guys. I'm not going to lie. But in the Bangers League, I was like, Aitchison, everything I read about him, everything I looked up about him, they're like, this guy is aggressive. He plays to the boards. He's hammering guys. And I was like, this is the guy I want. And as soon as I picked him, John McGlynn's like, that was my guy. Because McGlynn wants all the bangers. McGlynn wants bangers. He wants bangers. He's like, he's an old offensive lineman. He wants to punch people in the face. He's like, I want all those guys. He's like, those are his players. So I love that pick in a Bangers league. I would, at 3-1, if you're looking at a regular points league, would I ever take him at 3-1? Absolutely not. No freaking way. Basically, every guy that went after him, I would have taken in front of him. But in a Bangers league, this is what we're talking about, people. You got to pay attention. I love him in a Bangers league. Because if you go back, and we talked about during the season, we'll talk about it as the upcoming season comes. There's a lot of guys that you're like, is that guy that good? And then you look at a Bangers league, you're like, oh, he's a top 25 scorer, top 30 scorer. And you're like, whoa, they blow you away. Toast, before we move on, because we're going to go a little long tonight. We're going to go an hour and a half. We haven't talked forever, so we need to hang out for a bit. Before we get into Black Aces, tell me some of your favorite picks, either late picks, early picks, like guys you fell too far, excuse me, as I stumble over my words. Tell me what you like here, and then once we do that, we'll jump into our Black Aces League and see what we like there.
Yeah, I'll anyway, you always like your own picks, right? But I did a lot of research on Justin Carbonneau. And for a lot of analysts, he
Took a
was in the
blue.
top. Yeah. Well, and
how
I
dare you take a Blues player, Toast? I actually was kind of shocked about that. I was like,
well,
oh my
as soon
god!
as I
I was
did,
like, he must be awesome. Because I was like, if Toast is taking a Blues player, he must be great. I was so mad after that.
yeah, crazy offensive talent, and he actually hits, and he's actually got that nasty side to his game as well. And a lot of analysts that actually do this, whether it be for the hockey writers, whether it be for Dauber or anybody else, a lot of them actually had him as a top 5 or 6 player in this draft. And actually, I believe, if I remember right, I think he went in the late teens to St. Louis. And so for me, that was an easy pick to actually go ahead and take him there, knowing that actually the next team picking long lived the note, right? And our home league there, Daler knew he was actually going to take him probably. And because my plan was also to go ahead and get McQueen. And as soon as McQueen went, I'm like, okay, Carbonneau's a good fallback option. And maybe I'll end up being happy that happened. Maybe it'll work out even better. And what as soon as I made a pick, Daler actually texted me right away and called me a name, and then basically said, hey, like obviously, and I'm like, hey, I knew you'd be taking him. But he ends up getting Potter, and actually Potter's a pretty good consolation pick there as well. So honestly, again, I think you're throwing darts here at the end. Even did when I actually picked Carson Schmidt, that was, again, another guy with just crazy offensive skills, had to put up some huge numbers in juniors as well. Again, you're taking a flyer on a guy that's actually put up huge numbers. And probably a guy that actually, again, it's because he's undersized. He's only 5'7", but you got DeBrincat in the league. You actually have Caulfield. I mean, and the list goes, you got 4 or 5 guys that actually can play at that height and actually play real, real well. And just because he actually is 5'7", 165, 70 pounds, doesn't mean he can end up being in the right situation, end up really being productive an NHL player, especially when they say that he has some of the best hands in the draft. So,
Marchand. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So it's like, okay, but we're throwing darts here at this point. But there is one thing, JT, I did want to, I know we do have a little bit more time here, but I did actually want to mention a trade that we actually did in the Black Aces. If we can actually maybe talk about that, because I really think that's going to be important to talk about.
Let's bring up that trade before we, and then we'll pull up the Black Aces draft and look at that.
Yeah, so Black Aces is a league that we're all in here. It's basically a huge roster. You got 40 players on the minor league roster. You got another 20. So you're looking at around a 60-man roster, 65-man roster, somewhere around there. It's a huge roster. Majority of that's minors. Guys actually don't become off of minor eligible until 200 games played. So I mean, it's a lot. Ours is different, like 82 games played, right? Like once they're in minors, they're not staying there long, especially when they start playing. They're off that, and you're got a lot of turnover in the roster, but not with the Black Aces. So Alexander Romanoff actually got the contract with the New York Islanders, and he ended up getting 6 years for I believe 8 years, maybe $6.5 million. And JT, you and I actually have him on the roster, and wasn't really liking that. He's a guy that's gonna hit. He's gonna block a lot, but he doesn't do a whole lot else. And especially looking where the Islanders actually at with Atchison, they've actually brought in, also with Schaefer. Romanoff isn't going to get any power play time either, stuff like that. So basically, is he worth that $6.5 million over 8 years? No, don't want to actually do it. So you and I were actually then in the market for a defenseman. So I'm going to go ahead and pitch out here what I actually offered the number 2 pick, the guy who actually took Schaefer. I offered him pick number 11, pick number 12 in our 2027 first rounder, and John Carlson, and retain John Carlson 50% of his salary, $8 million, take $4 million on for that. So he's getting John Carlson for $4 million. He's getting pick 11, pick 12, and a 2027 first for Schaefer. He responds back and says, "You're not even close. You're not close at all. I'm going to need Romanoff," which I'm like, okay, I would definitely give you Romanoff because that's who I don't want. I'm going to need Carlson 50% retained. I actually need Bronicki, who is a stud prospect on defense as well. And then I need Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And I need your first, I need number 11, number 12, your 2026 first, and your 2027 first. And I'm like, no. And here's the reason why. Schaefer actually they projected him to actually be like Cale Makar, right? And it's easy to actually project people to Cale Makar because Cale Makar is just like amazing and everybody wants a next Cale Makar. But Schaefer at his floor could be a bust. At his best, odds are he's probably not going to be Cale Makar. Let's just say it. Odds are he's probably not going to be that player. It's really, really hard to do, right? I mean, like,
yeah,
really hard to do.
You're predicting the highest upside there is, right? Like that's the highest upside there is your Cale Makar.
Yeah. So here's our consolation prize, and I think it worked out better for us. Instead, we moved pick 11, and also let's see exactly. I'm sorry. So pick 11 and a second rounder in 2026, and we get Owen Power. And Owen Power went number 1 overall a few years ago. 8-year deal, $8.35 million. Power has scored at least 50 points on pace anyway in his first 3 years, and he's only 22 years old. Great consolation prize. This is one of these deals where you're glad the other deal didn't work because this was better.
It was so much better. Like you texted me and you're like, dude, should we take this deal for Power? I'm like, absolutely. Well, in our startup, when we decided to take our league, our Around the Ice league from a 3-keeper league to a full dynasty, I got Power at an unbelievable price in the startup draft. I got him really late. I was like shocked. I was so bummed about it. But you were like, hey, should we go get him? I'm like, absolutely. It's not a huge bangers league, which he's better in because he's not great in a super bangers league. I was like
6'6", 200 pounds.
Yeah, you were like, should we go get him? I'm like, former number 1 pick. He's what, 23 now?
22.
He's effing 20. I wish I was 22 again. 22 years old. The guy is just coming to his prime. Former number 1 pick, man. I was like, dude, toast. I was like, when does the consolation prize actually be better than what you wanted originally? I'm like, it was a better deal. It was a better deal. I'd rather have Power right now. A guy, and we're in win now mode in Black Aces. I mean, we've been in the playoffs. We've been in the semifinals and championship every year. So I'm like, no, we want that guy that's going to help us now as opposed to guys going to help us in 2 years.
He gets 35 points in 79 games as a 20-year-old. He gets 33 points in 76 games as a 21-year-old. And he's up to 40 points last year in 79 games as a 22-year-old. And like, that's not all that great or whatnot. Here's the deal. Like, again, Buffalo, they are just on a different timeline than everybody else. And also, too, we know that Rasmus Dahlin is going to have number 1 power play. We get that, understand that. But Bowen Byram is probably not going to be there. Bowen Byram is probably not going to be there anymore, which that actually takes Owen Power to finally actually slide into power play, too. He actually, that big frame, he's actually going to get quite a peripherals as well. I think in our league, he really scored well, I think he was actually over 4 points a game for a 22-year-old as well, and an 8.35 million AAV. It just made sense for us that we didn't have to give up hardly anything at all. So basically, when we get rid of the $6.5 million contract for Romanoff, and we actually only take up an 8.35, we're only actually really take it on about another $1.75 million there. It's crazy. So I think it worked out pretty good for us.
Yeah, I love it. Before we pull up our Black Aces draft, we got a question from Mike S. Mike likes to throw us the crazy ones, keep us on our toes, as you would say. So I'm pulling that up, boys. All right, question for Mike. So for Mr. Takes, he says, F, marry, kill between watching the Blackhawks when they were good, watching the Bears when they were good, or hitting that perfect crossfade while you are racing. Toast, I'm going to let you start with this one because I feel like this is a question made for you.
I'll be honest with you guys, and Mike, you can give me a hard time later on. Like, Like, I don't even know what this means. So I'm not really sure even what Mike's asking, hey, here's the deal.
Toast is
Is
like, I love the Blackhawks. I love the Bears. I'm marrying both. I don't care. I don't care what anything else is happening. I love both of them.
Yeah, my as big as Bears fans I actually am, as hockey's my number one, and so the Blackhawks are my number one priority.
So Toast, the way this breaks down is you're marrying the Blackhawks. That's how this works.
And
You're
I'm banging
marrying
the
the
Bears.
Blackhawks. Yeah, you're marrying the Blackhawks. You're banging the Bears, and you're killing the racing crossfade. That's
pretty much. Yeah,
that's how we
Those
are.
days are gone.
I didn't know this was what we're happening here, but this is we love when Mike throws us off with the most random questions of all time during the podcast. So I had to bring that up because I was like, that's just gonna be ridiculous. So we're going with that. All right, 10 minutes left in the show. Let's take a look at our Black Aces League. I'm going to try to pull up here and hope I don't mess it up. I think I've got it here. So there we go. Yeah, Black Aces League. So here's where we're at. So this is a 14-team league, so that's why it's cut off a little bit for anybody looking at it like, what's going on? 14-team league. Let's talk about. We got about 9-10 minutes left, guys. Let's jump in. Obviously, we see some huge differences between our Bangers League. This is not a Bangers League, but this is a salary cap scoring league, very low blocks hits league. We have just slightly increased that because me and Toast, I will tell you, we're on the forefront of like, hey man, we have to make defensive players like worth a little more because they were worth nothing, right? Toast, in this league, it was like pretty brutal. So we were like, hey, let's add some points there. As you can see, the clock is actually ticking. We're on the clock at 4-1. Misa went 1. Pretender Schaefer went 2, so a little higher. Hagens went 3, where he went 7 in our league. Went 3 here. Schaefer went, I think, 5 in our league. Went 2 here. Misa 1 instead of 2. Bartone at 4, which is, I think he went 5 in our league. His Noyers went 5. He was 4. Martin Wright, I think he went 6, so he's about to say Frondell making me look like a jerk. Frondell going 1-7, and when I took him at 1-1, which I don't care. F you guys. McQueen went 1-9 though, but that shows you the difference there. McQueen went 1-9 in a non-bangers league. In a bangers league, he dropped to mid-second round. Eklund 110, which me and Toast were on him. He went 110. Bear went 111. We actually took, that's the one you can't see, is Kendall at 112 is ours, where we took him there. Aitchison actually went 2-1 in this league, where he went 3-1 in our league. Quick hitters, Aaron, jump in here and tell me what you think, whatever you want. Picks you like, picks you didn't like. I know, Toast, you're going to talk about more at 3-8, where we thought we were going to get him at 3-11, and we were kind of pissed about it, and then we discussed who we took at 3-11. But Aaron, jump in here and tell me kind of what you like, didn't like in this group. This is just a reminder to everyone listening, this is our Black Aces League. This is a salary cap league, so it does make a difference. We are on real life salaries, what guys are getting paid. So people are drafting, trying to fill spots where they have to move guys if guys are too expensive.
Yeah. So, well, like Toast said last when we looked at our main league, our home league, you always like who you draft first. So I had the 1-1. I went Misa. Reason why I did that is just the way this is structured and the league scoring. It's definitely heavy on the scoring. Like you said, though, JT, we've boosted the defense, so it was really a harder decision than what I let it. While I wasn't really talking to anybody, just in my own head, over Schaefer over Misa. But then it came down to I keep hearing Makar. It's same thing as comparing a forward to McDavid. That's a tough sell. So I went Misa. I went a little bit safer route. And again, I have Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini. So I'm invested in the Sharks.
I have to say, just to jump in real quick with you, in this format, if I had 1-1 in this format, I would have went Misa. I
Yeah.
100% agree with you. I went Frondell in ours because it's a bangers league and we are pretty heavy bangers. And so his hits and blocks, I think, are going to matter a little more with the fact that I think he can pair with Bernard. But in this league, if I would have had 1-1 in this league, I would have absolutely went Misa. I agree with you on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I came back on the 1-7 pick and went with your guy Frondell. So we'll have that in common as the
You stole it.
season.
You stole it. That's why I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. I was like, Aaron took Misa and then got Frondell. I was like,
Hey,
I was
I
telling
was-
Toast when we were like texting. I was like, how did Aaron get like?
Yeah, and you got O'Brien.
you got both
And,
guys.
yeah,
really-
and O'Brien. O'Brien, I
And,
like him because I don't have a whole lot of risk there. I know Seattle's developing. Complete fluke. They made the playoffs their first year in the league. We see who they are. They're whatever. They're up and coming, but they got some names in the, had a good draft. But so I can be patient with him as well. But yeah, as far as Frondell, I did 20 players because I had the 1-1 and then the 1-7, 1-8, and then 2-2 picks. So I had a lot. I was pretty heavy on the front end. So I just did 20 players. I'm like, man, if I get, 3 of these guys, I'm happy. Well, that not exactly math doesn't add up there, but I was just hoping for, hey, if I catch some of these guys, I'm good with that. I ended up getting, going 4 for 4, almost in order that I had them. Okay, this guy will probably go. This guy will probably go. The Frondell was the one exception. The last thing I'll say real quick is something other than pumping my own tires here. The McQueen. He went way earlier in this draft, and I think he went in the right place. Maybe even I contemplated taking him because, again, like you said, Toast or JT, one of the two of you, we have 40-man minor league rosters. I can take more risks. I can be a little bit more liberal with that. I can put guys in that smoker, let them smoke in the minors. I don't care because I have so many other spots that I can play with. So it's definitely going to the best, most skilled player up next, and I think McQueen went at the right spot there, as opposed to our last one where he fell significantly. But I don't have, with only 10 guys roster, I don't have as much. It's a much higher risk to take him, I think, in our other leagues. So it worked out pretty much how I think it should have. And then, of course, Carter Bear, it went to Babcock's, but I just like the name. I was stuck on the name, so I almost took him just based on his name. But anyway.
Well, and Titch too. Really, real quick. I know we just have a minute here, JT, but because we do need to wrap up. But the O'Brien pick was great. And really, it's an interesting pick by Seattle, because if you actually look at Seattle, man, they got Beniers, they got Shane Wright, they got Berkeley Catton, a high draft pick from last year as well, and then now actually another center in O'Brien. Like, they have this center logjam with all these really young talented centers. But it was pretty obvious there that Seattle's like, best player available. Like, we're not going to worry about it. Basically, what our needs are, best player available, and that's what they did. And they took O'Brien there. When I forget specifically, I think he actually went about right there in the draft as well, around 8 somewhere. I forget where Seattle actually drafted, but they did really well, and I think that's a great pick as well. You had all the picks right, and you really nailed that. I mean, you really to get Misa, Frondell, and O'Brien. I mean, you could have easily screwed that up, and you didn't. It was great.
Well, Toast, to talk about our picks real fast before we close up. You already talked about the trade where we got Powers. We ended up getting Kendall at 112. Kind of talked about why you like him. We jumped up and took a little bit of a long shot at 214, and we took West for Chicago. A kid that's a stud athlete, but he plays football. He plays a ton of other sports. He's like thinking about staying in high school this year and playing football, which is unheard of for hockey players. But he thinks he can win a state title in football as a quarterback. So we took him at 214. Maybe that's our Blackhawks-ness coming through. But I loved it. And then we came back, and you and me discussed it. and we took Klingsell, another Swede who I love. Another guy went to the Winnipeg left winger. I thought it was a nice move. We got him at 311. Talk about those 3 picks real quick.
Yeah, I'll actually just talk about West in general. Again, a
Okay.
6'6", 190-pound quarterback, man. So he actually made a commitment to his high school team that he was going to go ahead and finish out the season. He actually wants to win the state championship, and then he's going to go off and actually play at a short stint at the USHL. And then after that, he wants to go off to college and actually play, and he's fully committed. So there's definitely the Hawks actually traded up pick number 34. And I think also maybe pick like 68 or something like that, and then another pick from next year's draft to basically say, you know what, this kid is the physical makeup of him, the athletic, just the competitor in him as well, and plus with that size, like we just got to take a home run swing here, because the Hawks have had so many first round picks here in the last, and they got 3 more set up for next year as well. At some point, you can't, not all these guys are going to hit. And if they all did, you couldn't pay all of them anyway at the same time. So you might as well start taking flyers and actually taking big home run swings. And that's what West actually did for the Hawks. And that's why we actually took him here. You're actually in the second round. You're like, hey, there's 14 teams in this. You're actually picking around pick 28. You got 40 men or guys on your minor league roster. You're taking flyers at this point. You should be taking home run swings at this point. This is what we did. I mean, so I hopefully it'll work out. We won't know for about 5 years, honestly.
Yeah, Toast, talk just real quickly. Let's talk about like when you're in big leagues with huge minor leagues. Is that not what you should be thinking about sometimes outside of the absolute studs at the top of the draft? Should you be thinking about some of these guys that could hit long term, because you're going to be able to stash them for a while, right?
Yeah, it's a balancing act for us. So for example, JT, I actually bring up our house divided roster here, and right now I actually have I got probably like 6 or 7 guys out of the 40-man roster there highlighted. They're going to see NHL time this year, and a lot of them significant NHL time. That matters for actually maximizing those starts, where you can actually move those guys up and actually down. So you need a lot of guys that are going to see minutes, so you can actually fill in and maximize as many starts as possible. We struggled with that last year. We needed to get a little bit younger with our team, so we could actually, and this year I think we had the roster where we have a lot of our guys maturing at the right time. We have a lot of guys seeing minutes this year compared to last year. We didn't have a whole lot of guys actually seeing minutes. We were pretty bare, and we were just stuck with our NHL roster, and we couldn't maximize our start. We were getting beat last year a lot of times because we were 10, 12 starts behind other people as well on so many plays each week. But you also actually have to have that balancing act where you're willing to actually wait that time period to actually let these guys mature. With a 40-man minor league roster, you have the ability to do both. And like Aaron was alluding to, with a 10-man roster in our Bangers League for minors, you really don't have that luxury. You need these guys to actually maybe sit 1 year. You need them to go up and actually play. Because if not, you're just drafting every single year, and then you're basically dropping those same guys you actually draft because you like the guys you actually drafted the year before better. So you need them to be funneling up and actually playing. So the whole philosophy is way different.
Yeah, it's a good point, Toast, that you bring up, and that's what we try to bring you here on Around the Ice. A little bit different philosophies for different leagues. If you're in a salary cap league, a long league, big bench, like Toast said, in our league, you can play minor leaguers. You can bring them up and put them back down every week, and those extra plays are a huge advantage. We did not have those last year, even though we had a great team. We didn't have that advantage. That cost us. In smaller dynasty formats like our home league is, like you said, you can't really bring those guys up, move them down. It's not extra plays. So that makes a difference when you're drafting. You go into the draft, if it's a short bench, you want guys that are going to play sooner. Like, what's the point of sitting in a 10-man taxi squad where we're sitting on a guy for 4 years? Like, there isn't. So like maybe you take a guy who's not as good or high as a prospect. In the end, you take that guy earlier, seeing you get hit from him earlier. But if you're in a league like me and Toast, where you can sit on 30, 40 guys and bring them up, drop them down, bring them up, drop them down, it makes a difference. So, as we always talk about here on Around the Ice, know your league, know your scoring. If you have questions on what you should do on the scoring, how it works, I'm not sure what to do, you got to hit us up. Just hit us up either on the live shows, hit us questions. You can always hit us up on X. I'm at JT Orange. Aaron's at Titch4141. Toast is at Toast Clark. Hit us up with questions. We will answer you. You can also follow us at FIF Hockey at X on X. Hit us up there. Send us questions. Because all these leagues are different. So it's always a little bit of an intrigue, a little bit of difference how you approach them. As we showed you tonight on our 2 drafts, quite a bit of difference. Some guys went real high, some guys dropped, and it depends on scoring systems. So that's what we're here for. That's what we want to talk to you about. We want to talk about differences in leagues, how you need to approach leagues, because they're not all the same. So, guys, I was pumped about the draft. I didn't want to get into it earlier because I didn't want to start off on a bad note, but nothing but bad pub on the way the NHL entered the draft this year. It was not great. I was kind of busy. Toast was busy. We were going to watch it together. We didn't. After I saw everybody post stuff, I was like, we lucked out that we didn't watch it together. Everybody said it was kind of a mess the way they handled it. Hopefully they learn and improve next year because the NHL draft should be awesome. It should be awesome. It was a little below par. Did you watch any of it, either of you guys? It was not great this year.
Yeah, it's that decentralization they actually did. That didn't work. They're not going to do that again. So I think it was a one and done. And even I think Bettman was never for it. And that'd be the one thing I actually agree with him on for a first time. Like, yeah, it didn't go smooth. They're going to go back to their normal routine next year and have everything centralized.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to try things, but it just doesn't work. You got to be able to take it, and I think the feedback was heard loud and clear by the league.
I hope it was. I hope it was because, literally, when I was on Twitter or on X, I was like, look at anything NFL draft. The first 75 things that popped up was like, what are these guys doing? This is a disaster. I couldn't even find what was happening, good stuff about the draft because everyone's like, oh my God, this is horrible. And we always know the negative is higher than the positive, but yeah, hopefully they fix this. Because
you imagine being on the IT on the NHL, like how many? What if? I mean, nobody's got the same software. Nobody's got the same version. Of course, there's going to be glitches, and my God, there were. It's like every third team, you couldn't hear them. They had audio issues. Just cut it out. Yeah. And it drug it out. Yeah. Yep.
It was bad, and then there was no reason for it to take as long as it did. The NFL draft takes a long time, and I kind of understand that. And I'm a big NFL guy, as you know. We have a ton of NFL shows here on Fantasy and Frames, but for hockey, I think it helps them if they're faster. It keeps people entertained in things. They don't want 25 minutes between picks. You got to go a little bit faster. So hopefully they learned. They kind of blew it this year, but I think they're going to step it up, hopefully, in the end. Oh, we got one more comment here before we cut out here from our guy, John McGlynn. I was at a wedding during the draft, couldn't hear anything. It's all right, John. We said you crushed the draft. You were the number one guy. You had the best draft.
Yep, you were.
In our home league, John McGlynn, making trades, the newest guy to the league, crushed it. Me and Johnny got our home league draft in his league next week in Chicago, so that's going to be a good time for NFL draft. But guys, hey, we've been on here long enough. We probably got to kick out, but it's good to see you again. I feel like it's been a long time.
Same.
Yeah, looking forward to
we'll be back.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be back. It should be a fantastic, fun fantasy hockey season coming up. Make sure to check us out. We ran on Wednesday night tonight because a lot of the Fantasy and Frames guys were on vacation and stuff for the holidays. So we jumped in, filling some voids. But check us out Tuesday nights during the season, usually 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time, Tuesday nights on Fantasy and Frames. We'll bring you Around the Ice, our fantasy hockey podcast with a little bit of tinge of betting in there. If you guys want to get on that little betting tip, we like to throw little bets in there, live bets and stuff for the weeks. Pretty nice season last year for us. Actually, we killed it for a while. A little dry spot at one point, but I did hit the Panthers winning Stanley Cup. So I will take that. I had the Panthers and Oilers. I hedged my bets. I took both of them at the beginning of the playoffs, and I at least hit one of them. So I was good at that. For Titch, for Toast, I'm JT. Everybody, thank you for joining us. I know we've been off the air for a while. We're back in the mix, baby. It's hockey. Hockey is coming up. Stick with us. The next couple of months, we'll be giving you previews, our favorite things, what's going up, favorite players, trades, pickups, all that good jazz. The draft is always awesome. Hit us up with any questions at JT Orange, at Titch4141, at Toast Clark. We'll check you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
Later.